James Tynion IV is one of the biggest up-and-coming comic creators. You might say, how can he be up-and-coming when he's been writing for 10 plus years in the industry, but that's not really much when in comparison to some writers who've been in the game for 30 plus years and they're still putting out content. But with the length of time that James has been writing some amazing stories, and today I wanted to pick 5 comic series that I think are the best from the creator. But before I get to that amazing list, I need to mention some honorable mentions that I very much think are worth reading, but not in my top 5. And I could have really made a top 10 list probably, but let's just talk about the honorable mentions, starting with the Department of Truth. This is a great conspiracy theory comic where it really focuses on so many different conspiracy theories out there, and it doesn't try to prove it or make it false. It just kind of goes with putting a story within that conspiracy and making it really interesting. So I really enjoyed this. The thing that holds it back for me from being in the top 5 is sometimes it's a little hard to understand the art, and sometimes the font choice isn't my favorite, but overall, this is a great comic. The next title would be The Closet, which is basically just a boy dealing with his parents' marriage and falling apart. And it's really, really good if you like things like Babadook. That's what I related to the most in terms of having a metaphorical monster horror story in the background of real serious issues. I just really enjoyed this 3-part issue series that I cannot recommend enough. And even if you don't like it, well, it was 3 issues, so check it out anyway. My next up is Justice League Dark. Now, Justice League Dark is something I wasn't on my radar to check out, and thanks to James, I really enjoyed this team of kind of losers and also sometimes really on the verge of being bad at times, but also being led by Wonder Woman, which was a really cool choice to have her magical side more in here. So yeah, overall, Justice League Dark, and I'm talking about the Rebirth one, not the New 52 one, is very much worth checking out. Now, my other 2 are Sandman Universe, Nightmare County, which I really enjoyed. If you're a fan of Sandman, I think you would enjoy this. If you never read Sandman, you could still read this, but I feel like you'd be a little lost on the title character. But overall, it's kind of freaky, it's kind of geeky, it's my type of horror. I really enjoyed it for the most part, and I think the final part is coming out either 2025, or maybe I'm mistaken and there's only 2 parts to it. And my final book is The Joker, which I really, really expected to be, well, let's be honest, poop, because I don't really like the Joker that much. I don't mind him as a main villain, as a foil to Batman, but I didn't want to read a book about him as like the main character, and luckily, he isn't really the main character. James Gordon is the main character, and he is great in this. This is basically a James Gordon book with the Joker being the main antithesis to his problems. Overall, I really just enjoy this book for being way different than I expected and way better than I ever hoped it would be. That wraps out my honorable mention, so we're diving right into number 5, which is Detective Comics. Now, this is the only DC comic superhero book on my list for top 5. And if there's just one of them I had to pick from, I think this is the one that I enjoyed the most. I just really, really, really love the dynamic he built in this cast, from cast to Clayface relationship to Batman and Batwoman basically co-running this group, to Tim Drake's growth as a character and a hero by the end of this, and Steph being just a great addition to the overall team. Just everything about this run seemed to work when it came into being a comic superhero team, which isn't always easy to do. I think superhero teams are actually really hard to nail down. So I wanted more by the end, but what I got was great and really is a highlight to the beginning of the Rebirth era for me. So number 4 is World Tree, or 3. It's really weird how it looks when you're looking at it. It kind of has the 3 inside the tree. Anyway, this was a hard choice because I enjoy almost everything James does on the creator-owned side, but this series is a knockout. Fernando Blanco's art adds this kind of uncertainty of this like digital age and era of darkness with the horror atmosphere he delivers, and we fucked up and have to fix our mistakes that James writes here. I just couldn't get enough of the characters and the overall look of this series. The series also starts off with a horrific event of a person going door to door stabbing people, and it only gets more intense, violent, and scary as we go on. This is one of the most out there series that he's done, but I also think it's one that I couldn't stop reading and I could not put it down when I got my hands on it. Alright, so number 3 is The Nice House by the Lake. One of the greatest first issues to a series that I have ever read. Now, while I do think that it got a bit shaky at the end, the overall story, mystery, themes of dealing with loss, isolation, depression, suicide, and so many more really just hit home for me. The idea, which I won't spoil, but an idea of the way the end and, the end of everything comes is just really well done. And while the ending wasn't everyone's cup of tea, it did get me excited to read more from this series. Now, I haven't read the follow-up yet, Nice House by the Sea, but I'm hearing nothing but good things. Some even saying better than the original, which honestly, at this point, I expect nothing less. James and Alvaro both write and paint a picture of darkness and mystery so well that I don't even want to give away the plot because I feel like that is a spoiler in itself. So every issue to me revealed just enough and it made me want to read more, and that's what I love about comics, especially horror comics, which is really hard to do. Number 2 is Deviant. Now this one is really fucking good. I'm just going to say that right away. James and Joshua Hickson create one of the best horror, thriller, police chase or procedural killer stories that I have ever got a chance to read, and I love these type of books. Basically, a man dressed up as a deranged, skinny, white as sheet Santa goes around murdering people because they can. And this story both focuses on a guy writing the piece on this killer, interviewing someone who is imprisoned for these murders, and understanding that his sexuality might be a big reason why he did it or why he was accused of doing it. While the killer reemerges, and now we have no clue who it could be, or all signs point to a very obvious suspect. It's a very Seven or Silence of the Lambs vibe, has excellent storytelling, characters, and the art, so good. This isn't one of James's best stories. It's one of my favorite horror thrillers that I have ever read in my entire life. Now, number 1 is Something is Killing the Children. It's probably his most famous work outside of the big two, and maybe his most famous work, period. And it's for good reason. We follow Erica as she goes around killing these monsters that people can't see. And in doing so, she meets a slew of people, mostly kids, who she has to protect, but also understand what these monsters are capable of. On top of that, we get an organization helping Erica hunt these monsters, almost sending her off like a trooper, but they don't like the way she does things all the time, so maybe they'll go after her. It has excellent storytelling, building a world that feels real, but also fantastical as at the same time. And I'm going to mispronounce this name, I'm so sorry to the artist, but Del Edera, hopefully I'm saying that right, he gives us some of the most unique and amazing character designs I've ever seen. Erica is easily one of my favorite looking male leads in comics and forever. Just everything about her style, her clothing, or just the one eye that you see because of her hair. Love all of that. So this series feels grand. It feels big. No doubt will be a TV show or movie one day. And this is really what kick-started James's career into stardom, and for good reason. It's a fucking knockout series. And that's my list of top 5 comics from James. I think he's one of the most talented current writers. Every time he announces a book, every time issue 1 comes out, I'm going to check it out. Does it always hit home run? No, not every writer. No writer can do that, actually, to be honest. No artist can do that. But a lot of his series are fucking good. And that's why I always recommend checking his stuff out. These are my top 5, but my honorable mentions are all worth reading too. So if you haven't read anything from him, I really suggest doing so. Obviously, his creator-owned work is a little bit more my style, but his Detective Comics is one of my favorite detective comic runs of all time. So do check it out if you want to check out more superhero style stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. If you loved it, hit the subscribe button. I got more videos like this coming out. And I would love to hear your favorite stories from him below. So put them below. Everybody, have a wonderful day.